Hello, Audioholics. This is Logan, and welcome to Audioholics Unite. Today, we are going to be looking at Sons of Apallo, Psychotic Symphony, which sounds like some sort of cartoon that's probably racist. And speaking of probably racist, here's Tyler. Say Ty Hyler.
Ty Hyler.
So, Sons of Apallo, a big heaping thing of not my thing. It's a bunch of wankery prog shit, but Tyler really likes it, so we're doing it. Tell them a little bit about Sons of Apallo.
All right, so Sons of Apallo is a supergroup. And in the previous take of this, we went on like a 15 billion minute tangent on that. But let's just summarize it by saying, generally, I don't like supergroups. The general exceptions being Cream, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and this album. Or this band, rather, because they have two albums now. Now, the people
and
who are
Audioslave.
in this band...
Audioslave is badass, too.
Oh, yeah, I guess Audioslave is a supergroup.
Yeah, I mean, you got Chris Cornell,
it's kind of funny.
Morello.
It's kind of funny, like, the best supergroups are ones you don't even know are supergroups.
Yeah.
Anyway, this album. So I'm going to run through the members real quick. We've got a lot of big names in prog. And although this is a progressive album, it is a progressive metal album, but it's not like Dream Theater level progressive. It's much more heavy metal influenced.
All right.
It's got a more traditional metal style to it. I mean, you would have heard that in the song I sent you.
Yeah, I did kind of hear that. I figured it would I heard that, but I was assuming it would like devolve into something pretentious, but I guess it doesn't really.
It does that a few times on the album, but it's not like something they do a lot, like Dream Theater or something like that. Anyway, so part of the members. Speaking of Dream Theater, we have two ex-Dream Theater members. I'm going to start with Derek Sherinian, who is probably my favorite keyboard player of all time, but there are a lot of really amazing keyboard players, so that's a hard one. He was ex-Dream Theater. He was in the Falling Into Infinity album, which kind of blew, but the EP A Change of Seasons, that was fantastic. In fact, that song is my favorite Dream Theater song, in no small part due to Sherinian. You can really hear his amazing synths in this album. Next, we have Mike Portnoy on drums, who is also an ex-Dream Theater member. And again, you can really hear his compositional expertise on this record, and also his thundering, blazing drum fills, which is probably... Mike Portnoy right now is my favorite drummer in the world, hands down, because of how amazing his drum fills are. Like, there is no drummer on the planet that sounds anything like Neil Peart, except Mike Portnoy. And the only reason my favorite drummer in the world isn't Neil Peart is because he's kind of dead.
Yeah, well, he isn't doing much drumming now.
He was my favorite drummer, and if you were to ask me, he'd be my favorite of all time, Neil Peart. Next on bass, we have Billy Sheehan, which I forget. I know he was in kind of like a bigger name band, but he's mostly known for being in basically everything. He's played with a ton of huge names live. He's done a lot of stuff like that. He's not really like a name, like if you were to talk to a bass player, they'd probably know who he is. But otherwise, you might not have heard of him. He's probably the less known name on this album. Then on vocals, we have Jeff Scott Soto, who is from Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force band. Never really liked that band personally, but Soto's an okay vocalist. He's probably the weakest link on this album, but he does a serviceable job. And finally, we have my personal favorite member, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, who is one of my favorite guitar players of all time. He is absolutely revolutionary, especially on this album.
I agree.
So,
he's very revolutionary. What did he do again?
So, yeah, I mean, we can talk about this more on the album, but this guy, his biography is fucking insane. By the age of 6, he was already like a master of music, and that's not even a joke. He was teaching music classes by 13. Oh, and by 16, he was already considered one of the best guitar players in the world. This dude is insane.
Sounds like It sounds like the kind of shit they would write about Kim Jong-un in North Korea. Like,
Except it's actually true, though.
at age 2, he already knew how to fly.
No, I think I read like he first picked up a guitar at like age 3 or 4, and by age like 6 or 7, he was already better than I am. So, you know.
Oh yeah, we know
Anyway.
you're fantastic. So.
Oh, I'm just the
Yeah.
best.
So like, what bands was
So
he
the
in,
thing, he was in Guns N' Roses. He's currently the vocalist and lead guitarist of Asia, and he's not really known for being in those big bands. He's known more for his solo stuff, I think, and especially this band now. Yeah.
Asia was still touring.
He's a great vocalist, by the way. So the thing that's so amazing about Bumblefoot and what he does that's unique is he actually plays with the two neck guitar that you would have seen from other bands like Led Zeppelin, except one of them is a fretless guitar. So he has one that's a regular fretted and then one that's a fretless guitar. And if you didn't know, a fretless guitar sounds completely different. There isn't a single guitar player that is of anywhere near his stature in the market that plays with a fretless guitar.
Yeah, fretless
so
guitar.
It's really revolutionary.
Yeah, very revolutionary.
It is.
Yeah,
it's
very
unique.
Very unique, I agree. Anyway, so now that we got that entire preamble out of the way, let's just get into this fucking album.
All right.
Yeah, so if you want to listen along, there's a link in the video description. I highly recommend using AdBlock because, I mean, unless you have like YouTube Premium or something, unless you're like, made of money and know how to piss it away. But for the majority of us, use AdBlock. I mean, you don't really want to be supporting piracy anyway. So, without further ado, let's get on with the album. We are going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, and go with God of the
Sun. Now let me just be transparent. This is on my top 50 best albums list. This is an album that I love, and I'm going to gush over it the entire time.
I mean, already this sounds really good through headphones.
So just because I was talking about it earlier, I went ahead and pulled up Bumblefoot's biography.
Okay.
So at age 6, he was able to play the entire Alive album by Kiss. And he already figured out multi-track recording at age 6, just on his own.
Yeah, I don't know.
By the time he was 13, he was already playing in clubs, focusing on original material with his 8-track. And at 16, he won his first award in the Sam Ash guitar solo contest.
I don't know. All that kind of sounds BS, but, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds BS because it's just so fucking insane. Yeah. This guy is pure musical talent embodied. Personally, I would call him the most underrated guitarist in the entire world.
Yeah. I mean, this intro is pretty cool so far.
Yeah, you'll see in this album, like, even if you end up not liking it as much as I do, or even at all, you'll see his guitar playing is a highlight for sure.
I can tell you that I can immediately tell you that even if I like it as much as I possibly could, I won't like it as much as you.
Probably.
No, this song is pretty cool, though. I love the mixing. Oh, yeah,
that's a huge highlight.
Yeah, I love the production. Like, this really kind of, like, monstrous, bassy thing. I love it.
And listen to Portnoy's drumming in tandem with this riff.
Okay, I might take it back. I actually really love this. Why the fuck did you
That's
send me
one of the
this
things
song?
that's really unique.
What was that song that you did
Because it's 11 minutes long.
What was the song that you did send me? I can't remember.
Coming Home. It's their most popular song.
That's the next one, okay. Oh, Soto, no! Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Yngwie Malmsteen, but I'm even less of a fan of Jeff Scott Soto's Yngwie Malmsteen. What was the
I
one?
actually don't mind his vocals in this band, though. He's not the highlight, but he's
Yeah,
serviceable.
I guess
He
he's
doesn't piss me off.
So when I listen to Coming Home, that's the word that's stuck with me the most is serviceable. I would say I'm taking that back now that I'm hearing like the rest of the album. And I can only imagine that Coming Home can just maybe just flows better in the actual album. But that's the only song I heard, and I only heard it like a couple hours ago when he sent it to me to like prep for this. But
Yeah. It's the most mainstream sounding song on the album for sure.
yeah, this is pretty cool though. It's almost like prog doom metal almost.
Kinda. There's a song on this album that definitely fits that bill way better. I will say
Like
that.
I would say like if this album had like 10,000 times shittier production, it would be called proto metal.
Yeah, but seriously, like I think the highlight on this album is the trio of Sherinian, Portnoy, and Thal all together. You know, you got Portnoy doing his and you got Thal doing his like ridiculous riffing over that. And then you have Sherinian doing fucking keyboards over top all that, and it just creates this fucking amazing sound. Like right now you can hear it. Exactly what I'm talking about. Listen to that keyboard synth over top this fucking riff.
This reminds me almost like a little bit of like David Dremen from Disturbed.
Really?
A
Yeah,
little
I can
bit,
see that.
like not nearly as good, but
I can see that. So
there's
one of
like
the things about Thal as a guitar player that makes him really unique is that he puts a lot of emphasis on measuring up exactly to the drums. He plays guitar almost like a bass player plays bass. Normally the guitar is leading along and the drums try to keep up with the guitar, but Thal focuses his playing on the drums. So you could say in a lot of ways in this album the drumming is actually the lead part,
yeah.
which makes sense considering Portnoy is the main composer.
Yeah, this is considerably more wanky than Coming Home, from what I've heard. And honestly, I kind of prefer it that way. I think they're
Yeah,
allowed to kind of like, I think on this song, they're kind of allowed to like let loose a little bit more, kind of like really kind of show off the extent of their musical talents. And honestly, like knowing what I know about Portnoy and sort of like Dream and like some of like the extreme theater shit as a whole, um, I would say like generally speaking, there is like they are like holding back. Like this is not to the same caliber technically as Dream Theater, but maybe as a result of that, I think I like it more. Except the exception being Metropolis Part 2, I think it's called. That album is fucking amazing.
yeah, it is.
And I probably could
No,
get into like more Dream Theater, but like that's
if
the
you
only
want
one.
like pure insanity, you'll get that on this album.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why I think the name Psychotic Symphony is such a good name for this album because you have all of these like really strong, technical, musically talented players clashing at all times,
Look,
and it comes out like, very psychotic sounding.
I just listened to the debut Mr. Bungle album. Insanity is not even a word in my vocabulary anymore.
Like this part right now is just
Yeah.
listen to those drums going and then that riff.
Like, you know what? It's like I can tell you like Tyler and I were talking about this earlier. We might end up doing an Audioholics Unite on their debut album at some point. But I was listening to Mr. Bungle for the first time, and I'd always heard like, oh, they're pretty unique, kind of avant-garde. The best way I can describe it is, so I think I mentioned this before on the podcast, but Tyler sent me, Tyler was like going through like the Rolling Stones like 100 metal albums of all time. And he found this one band. He sent a cassette to me because I guess like maybe it wasn't on vinyl, and I don't even think it's on in print on anymore. Like you can't get it on Spotify. The band is called Naked City, I believe. I can't remember if that was the name of the album or the band. I believe it was the name of the band.
Yeah, I think the album was called Torture Garden.
Yeah. So it's about 20 minutes, so like about 10 minutes on each side. There's about 40 songs, some of which are as short as like 3 seconds, and some of which are as long as about 2 minutes. And it's just like this. You know what? It is just an absolute shit post. That is the only way I can describe that album. Listen to it. Torture Garden.
It's literally like what, 20 minutes?
It's 20 minutes, and it's just a gigantic shit post. I mean, hell, half the songs are just about like fuck the jazz critics.
That's so true.
Half the songs are just like fuck the jazz critics in the title somewhere. And yeah, as you can tell, there's like a lot of jazz influence.
Oh, and by the way, just to interrupt real quick, this keyboard solo is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Goddamn Sherinian.
Anyway, the reason for all of that preamble is I would say Mr. Bungle is kind of on par with that. But like even more batshit insane. Like it is more music than Naked City, but it is just like it does so much weird shit. Like they like warp like 8-bit NES tunes. There's like a portion of the album where he's just shitting into a toilet. There's a point where he's just like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was like a point in the album where like the music stops, like, is that a threat? Are you looking at me? Something like that. It's all.
I need to listen to that album, dude.
We are going to listen to that album on the next edition of Audioholics Unite.
We might record that video the same night we're doing this one, actually.
Yeah, maybe.
It depends. We decided we'd see how we feel at the end of this album.
Yeah.
It is an hour long, so it's not like it's short.
Yeah,
but...
and so is the Mr. Bungle album. So I mean, I'm pretty good for right now, but we'll see how you feel.
Yeah, well, I had to get up and go to work at 8 a.m., and I was there until 4:30, and then I had to come home and cook dinner, and then I had to do schoolwork until 9, so...
Yeah. Fair enough.
It's been a busy day for me. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see, but
we'll see how that works. But we are going to do it eventually, and it'll be up next week.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you want to give them an update on The Wrong Opinion?
Oh, yes. So we are doing Symphony X, and we are on Coming Home, by the way. We are...
I gotta say, though, as much as I say Soto's not a highlight, listen to his scream in the beginning here.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. I wish he did shit like that more.
Reminds me of, like, Roger Daughtry and We Won't Get Fooled Again.
Anyway, this is what I'm talking about. Listen to this groove.
That's true. All right, so update on Wrong Opinion. We are doing Symphony X. I'm just... we already listened to all of the albums. I just need to re-listen to them.
Yeah, what are you on now? Did you only listen to the debut?
I listened to the debut, and if you decide not to do the Mr. Bungle album tonight, I'll listen to the second one again. So far, I would say, like, they are an amazing band that may or may not end up being my thing. I actually really liked the, I think the ones that I'm not going to, like, spoil it too much, but, like, we are going to have basically a bit of a teaser. We are going to need to restructure how the format works because this band is just so good. Actually, no, like, what? Let's see, we're doing the Pretty Things this week, and then next week we're gonna upload this, I think. So, like, I mean, like, I think by that point, the Wrong Opinion will probably be up, but
Maybe,
just
I
in
don't know.
case, but just in case, I all of the albums are just so good that we are going to have to figure out how to restructure the format. And I think I know what we're going to do. They're all going to be S ranked, and then below that will be another tier that's just called Haha Lol.
You know, one thing that's really amazing about this album, especially for anything related to progressive music, there's so much variety on this album. Like, even in the
Yeah,
first two songs, these two songs sound
yeah,
nothing
I
alike.
agree. I agree.
And that's pretty much the same going forward, too.
And I can say these are definitely the best two songs that I've heard on the album.
Yeah, same. No, I'm joking. I've heard the whole album like
Yeah,
15,000
yeah.
times.
That was the joke, ladies and gentlemen. I was
No, the
afraid of,
joke is
like,
that you haven't heard the rest of the album, but I have.
the joke is that you
The
eat
joke is that your face is stupid.
the joke is that you eat poopies, and that's gross, and you should go take a shower.
Drinking beer right now.
What are you drinking?
It's a Coors Light. It's sissy
All
beer.
right. Yeah, I'm dorming, and they won't let me have alcohol, which sucks.
Boo. Nah, man, like, because I'm diabetic, I can't drink regular beer much, so I have to go with the
Yeah,
pussy shit, like lights.
yeah,
What are you gonna do? It's better than no beer. That's what I say.
yeah.
I like beer. You like beer?
I like beer,
To
dude. That will never like that. I think that will be the highlight of this administration.
be honest, though, like,
Just like,
Kavanaugh has turned out to be a really good
I mean,
justice.
yeah, he's been in like pretty good. Gorsuch has been like surprisingly decent too. I think he was like the one that actually, I remember right. I think he was actually the one who wrote like the main argument for like the equal rights in the trans workplace thing that recently passed. Which,
Oh, I didn't hear about that. That's kind of
yeah, I mean,
awesome.
like, if you're of a progressive mind, that should be pretty good.
All right, so now we got Signs of the Time. This is a very heavy song.
Girl, baby, stop your crying. It's a sign of the times. That's how it goes, right? Oh, this is even more doom metal.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about when I said there was a song on the album that basically is doom metal.
This sounds like Candlemass specifically.
It's like Candlemass, but like better in every way.
If you want to know our opinions on Candlemass, check out our Audioholics Unite on Candlemass. That was fun.
Well, we did Epicus, but we're going to do a wrong opinion at some point.
Yeah, we will.
I'm actually really excited for that one because I think like Candlemass has a very diverse discography. Despite being doom metal, like they go from thrash to prog to psychedelic to, yeah, they're weird.
This song is really good. This might actually be my favorite so far.
I think like my favorite song on the album is called Labyrinth.
Okay, I guess we haven't gotten to that one yet.
No, but it's like, so part of the issue with like albums like this is that they're kind of obscure, so you can't find any info on what the lyrics mean. My
What?
point in
Sons of
saying
Apallo
this
is obscure?
yeah, a lot of people don't
Wow.
know who they are.
Wow.
Anyway, so my point in saying that, my interpretation of these lyrics could be completely fucking ass backwards. Feel free to tell me if they are, but
They are.
my interpretation of Labyrinth is basically it's a guy going insane in like the mind in his mind.
Okay,
It's like
I
he's
love
getting lost in the
songs.
labyrinth of his mind. I love
Yeah,
that.
like songs, movies, anything that involves insanity automatically has to be up there.
Yeah, Ozzy did a great song like that, didn't he?
That's like half
What was
his
that one
shit.
song?
That's like half his songs. Yeah, what was the song that Ozzy did about going paranoid? I can't remember what it was called.
No, but in his wasn't it in Blizzard? He did a song specifically about that. Suicide Solution, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Although I read somewhere that he claims that was about AC/DC's Bon Scott. Fuck
Yeah,
off.
I don't know.
You fucking
I don't know.
liar.
I don't know if it was or not. Who cares?
The other half of the band has come out and been like, no, he totally wrote that about himself. Like,
Yeah.
don't
I
listen.
mean,
Jakey Lee got fucked hard by
he
Ozzy and
did.
Sharon.
Yeah.
He really did. Dude,
He got fucked almost as hard as this fucking guitar riff is fucking me right now, man.
yeah.
What the
Yeah, a lot
fuck
of the
even
time,
is this? What is this?
that's Derek Sherinian going insane.
Big bucks, no whammies, no whammies.
I fucking love the synths in this album.
Yeah.
But no, like often if you hear like dissonant guitar playing, that's the fretless guitar because so the thing with a fretless guitar is that what does a fret do? I don't know if you know anything about guitars, so I'm asking you. Do you know what a fret does?
Well, I know like what a fret is. It's like I thought it was just a marker. Like it
It
was like
basically is.
yeah, it's basic. I didn't think it actually did anything. I thought it was just like a point to where like you know what the chords are. Like they're like the little like aren't they like the little like metal
Yeah,
things
they're like the metal
on the
tabs on
neck
the
of the
guitar.
guitar?
Yeah. So what they do basically is there are certain points on a guitar where it is best to play a note, and they basically mark where those points are. But when you take that away, you have to basically guess that. And that's what a fretless guitar
Yeah.
does. So what you end up having with a fretless guitar is completely unique sounding riffs because you can't play them on a regular guitar.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I mean like guitar prodigies like this, like they could probably figure out how to do that without like the little guides.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but they're just the interesting stuff. What was it like Pete Townsend said, oh, like, everything you can do on a guitar was already found. Yeah, fucker, try a fretless guitar. There's infinite
I'm sure
possibilities on
people used
fretless
fretless
guitar.
guitars before he said that though.
I mean, I'm sure, but like fretless guitars are kind of a new invention though.
Hmm.
Like they haven't really been around until like recent memory.
Oh, okay. It took them this long to figure that out.
I don't know.
Like, to me,
Like
like the frets
maybe
are.
it's not that they took this long to figure it out. Maybe it's more just they didn't see a point in it until now.
I mean, like I always figured like and I'm not a guitarist, but like I figured like the frets were almost like the bumpers in bowling. Like you only really like once you get to a certain point, you don't need it anymore.
Oh no, they do more than that, but yeah, this is a really great, just a fantastic song.
Yeah, it is.
I think the
I
next
mean,
one is Labyrinth. I'm excited for that.
yeah. I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised. So far, I genuinely really like this album in a way that like I would probably listen to it again.
See? Told you
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look up fretless guitars.
I would say so far like an 8.5, maybe a 9, personally.
So, The first fretless guitar was invented in 1976.
Oh, wow. So that is fairly recent.
Yeah.
Of course it was invented in the fucking Wild West of the 70s.
And
That's
also,
like,
this is Labyrinth, by the way.
okay. Like, Tyler and I were talking about this. I was talking about this one, like, going back to Mr. Bungle. I was talking about this with Tyler, like, my two favorite decades, and I think to some degree he kind of agrees even with the latter half, but we definitely agree on the first half, the 70s and the 90s, and they're both good for the same reason. Because you just had such an anything goes Wild West mentality when it went to music. I mean, in the 1970s, what we had, music progressively got heavier and softer in that decade. Oh, you think music's too heavy? Okay, well then listen to Elton John, Seals and Crofts, Billy Joel. Then again, though, half of those artists got fucking heavy as well. But you don't want to listen to any of that pussy yacht rock shit? All right, listen to Black Sabbath, Judas Priest. I'm pretty sure Overkill started in the latter half of that decade. Or not Overkill. Right. What was that one proto black metal band? Venom.
King Diamond also started in the 70s, I think.
Yeah.
Or no, they came out in 83.
Yeah. Motorhead. I mean, there was so much, and then there was just so much in between as well. You had bands like Styx, which I would not call heavy, but and they did ballads, but they had their angrier, more hard rock inside. I mean, Blue Collar Man and shit like that. Renegade, that was a pretty fucking heavy song. And then you had all the prog shit, Pink Floyd. And then the 90s was sort of like that too. You had bands.
Listen to fucking Portnoy.
Yeah.
Fucking
I mean, you had the existing, inventions from the 60s, 70s, 80s all evolving. Metal was evolving into industrial metal, and prog was evolving. Now we had bands like Dream Theater and I don't know. Fate's Warning, yeah.
Queensryche.
Yeah, Queensryche. And then you just had some of these what the fuck bands. I'm talking shit Mr. Bungle, Butthole Surfers. I'm pretty sure Naked City was a 90s album. If it wasn't, I would be very surprised. Sun O, I think they were kind of big around that time. You had noise rock was a 90s thing. You know what that was? Make as much noise as possible and just assault all of the senses.
By the way, listen to the chorus that's about to come on.
Yeah.
Here it is. Wait, no, not yet. Too soon. No, they do an amazing build up to the main chorus of this song. It only appears after 2 verses.
Yeah.
I think it's after this part.
This is
Again,
the same kind of vocal. This is the same kind of vocal effect as the recorder from Zeppelin. This is a pretty cool chorus.
It grows on you a lot too. I think it only happens once or twice more for the rest of the song, and they add more instruments and layers to it every time to make it sound more impactful.
Yeah. But yeah, you pretty much agree with what I was saying about decades, right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm not entirely sure whether all the bands we talked about started in the 70s or the 90s or what, but
well, they were definitely
is that those 2 decades were amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue Nine Inch Nails came out in the late 80s, technically, I think, but come on, they were a 90s band.
It actually kind of sounds like Ozzy in parts of this
Yeah,
song.
it kind of does.
Fucking insane riffage right here.
Oh, and then you had like super psychedelic shit in the 90s too, like Beck and fucking like.
Psychedelia was something that was at its peak in the 70s, I think. It
Well,
never
I'd
really
say,
came back.
I mean, I would say more so in the 60s. I think 70s, everything kind of like mellowed out a bit. Except Pink Floyd, they were still hanging in there and selling shit.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, the 60s were probably the peak of psychedelia, but
Yeah, I mean, like
the
what? You had
70s,
Jimi
there's still a lot
Hendrix,
in
the
there.
Beatles, the Stones did a psych album that they all hate.
Oh, yeah, speaking of, did you know the Stones just released a re-release of God, what was it called? It's like Gray something. I don't remember.
Uh, Gray
Give me a sec.
something.
I'll look it up. They just did like a re-release of it. It's
Oh yeah, no, it's Goat's Head Soup, right? Didn't they just re-release that?
Goat's Head Soup. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a good. I mean, it's an all right album, but fuck that cover, man.
Also, Pantera is releasing a re-release of their album "Reinventing the Steel."
Isn't that like a Glam album?
No,
Oh,
that was their most recent. That like a lot of people don't like.
oh right, yeah.
Oh, also Disturbed. As long as we're talking about new stuff, Disturbed released a cover of a Sting song.
What, like Fields of Gold or something?
If I ever lose my faith in you.
I could see that working. I will go on record as saying their cover of Sound of Silence is 102% dog shit.
I no, it's their own thing. They
Yeah, it's
did
their
something
own
different
thing,
with it.
but like so is shitting in a jar, and I wouldn't necessarily call that good unless Mr. Bungle's doing it.
All right, but you only hate it because it's different. It has an orchestra. That goes against the entire point of the original song.
I think
Does it
okay,
though?
no, I hate it because it's different and bad. Like
I mean, if it's so bad, then why does everybody but you love it?
okay, because they're wrong. Why does everybody love fucking Nickelback?
They don't though.
I don't know.
People
They're
hate
still selling
Nickelback.
albums. They're still selling tour. Well, I mean, they would be if we weren't in a pandemic, but
Okay,
still.
sure, but like the critics hate Nickelback, fans hate Nickelback. A lot
Well,
of
most of the
people
critics hate
really love Sound
Disturbed.
of
So I mean,
Silence.
what's your point?
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, there are some people who don't like Disturbed, but I think overall, especially like their earlier stuff, a lot of people like Disturbed's earlier stuff. I think a lot
Holy
of people
shit!
dislike
I've been
Disturbed
feeling
after
like
this.
kind of Asia vibes throughout this album, and now I'm really starting to feel it.
I mean, I'm not surprised by that. I mean, you have
I'm
Ron Thal, who is part of Asia, so
fair enough. I'm surprised. Like, I'm sure you've looked to try to find how much this costs on vinyl. How much is it?
I actually haven't.
Hmm. This would
I
be
just
so cool
assumed
on
it wouldn't
vinyl,
be on
though.
vinyl.
This would be so cool on vinyl.
It would. It would be really cool. Oh, I just wish I could get a shit ton of Symphony X on vinyl. That would be just
Yeah.
the best. Too bad none of it's in fucking print. After their disco, I hate this song.
What song is this?
It's alive.
Why does this
Maybe
sound
hate is a
familiar?
strong
Why have I
word.
heard this before?
I don't know. Maybe hate is a strong word. I just don't. It's the weakest song on the album by far.
Hate is a strong word. Oh my god, I haven't heard that song in so long. Do you even remember that song?
I don't.
Hate is a strong word, but I really, really, really don't like you. And after it's over, I don't even know what I liked about you. It was like
I don't
right
remember
at
that
the
song at
peak.
all.
That was like right at the peak of fucking pop punk. My brother listened to shit like that.
Huh.
This riff sounds so familiar.
I don't know.
Maybe it's like Chemicals by Bush, maybe. I actually kind of like this so far.
It's just the most. I don't know.
I mean, it's not. Maybe it's not the best song I would say, but I like it.
I mean, I don't. Like I said, hate might have been a strong word. I don't hate it. I'm not going to skip it if it comes
Yeah,
on.
and I
But
wouldn't say I love it either. I'd say it's like
exactly.
I would say, well, like I'd say the difference is like I'm leaning more positive, and I think you're leaning more negative. And like I could probably be persuaded to go more negative as well, but I don't hate it.
I think it's really just the chorus that I don't. It
Yeah,
doesn't
I would
grip
actually
me at
say that's
all.
probably like this. Like the verses are actually pretty cool. I think that makes it more into the positive category for me so far. Yeah, rock out
Yeah,
here.
because
I'm a
I am alive.
I'm a rock star.
You know, I still maintain that Pearl Jam's Alive is amazing.
I still maintain that Gigaton is amazing
Yeah, I know, and I don't know why.
because it's
Sucks.
better than like anything they ever did. Pearl Jam sucks. Apart from
Why?
like
Because they fucking threw a synth over their terrible music? Is that why it's
yes,
better?
yes,
No,
exactly because
it's
they are
terrible.
experimenting with music and not making total fucking dog shit. Like, why does everybody love Pearl Jam and hate Nickelback? They're basically the fucking same as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, musically, they couldn't be more different.
Especially vocal wise, they're both terrible.
I would agree with that. Pearl Jam's vocals are
And
terrible.
like
Always
the
have
thing
been.
that and like the thing that most people aren't pointing towards the guitarist of Nickelback or the drummer of Nickelback. They're pointing directly at Chad Kroger the Ogre. I can't remember who coined that. I think it was like Rocked or something. But still.
I fucking hate Chad Kroger.
I
Like the rest of Nickelback, my biggest problem with Nickelback is that the guys have fucking talent. They do. The
I think my
drummer's really
big
good. The
I
guitar
think
player
that
is really
like
good. Fuck it.
I'm not gonna
Chad Kroger's a
like
good
look,
guitar
I'm not
player.
gonna defend Nickelback. I'm not gonna defend Nickelback, but I will say that they like I think that
Well, no, I'm not
Nickelback.
defending them. I'm saying I hate them so much because it's a waste of talent. These guys are genuinely
No,
good.
I'm not
It's
saying
like
that you're
what happened with
defending them.
Creed.
I'm saying that I will say that I think it's not so much Nickelback that we should be pointing a finger at. It's that entire sound because there were so many other bands that sounded exactly like Nickelback,
It's butt rock.
like shit like Seether and shit like that.
It's frat boy rock is what it is.
Exactly. And honestly, as far as frat boy rock goes, Nickelback isn't even that bad. Like,
I
I would,
mean,
I
are
would
you
much
sure
rather,
about that?
I would much rather listen to Nickelback than something like Seether or fucking.
I mean, at least Seether has more variety of meaning choices than getting your dick sucked and drinking.
I don't know. I mean, like that's not even like, or like even like certain Puddle of Mud. I've given Puddle of Mud the benefit of the doubt too. I actually like some of their shit, but like this is maybe it's just because I grew up with this shit, but I don't like. Or no, Buck Cherry. I would much rather listen to Nickelback than Buck Cherry. Buck
Yeah, probably
Cherry,
same.
yeah, Buck Cherry is like the definition of drunk mom rock. All right, what are we on now?
Seeing them live was fucking hilarious.
Did you see them
We're
live?
in Lost in Oblivion. Yeah, they were at Rock Allegiance one year.
Oh god, that has to be terrible.
It was. It was really bad.
Like,
Like even
why?
even when they played Crazy Bitch, nobody was singing along because they were so terrible.
Oh shit, this song is amazing. This is my favorite song now.
Yeah, we're starting to get into some of the like big highlights of the album. Lost in Oblivion, Divine Addiction's another big one. And can you believe it? We're actually almost done. There's only one more actual song after this.
Is it weird that this kind of reminds me of like that one song, Young and Wasted by Kiss?
Yes.
You say the bait you bite.
I'm insulted that you would compare anything I like to Kiss.
You know what? I've kind of like more or less been on the same page as you with Kiss, but I'm a Kiss fan. Fuck you. I'll admit it. I realized I was just pretending not to be, and like I do that subconsciously. You know, like everyone does that to some degree. Like you pretend not to be as hyped as someone. Okay. Let me rephrase that. I'm not a Kiss fan, but I think that they have really good albums. Lick It Up is one of them. Creatures of the Night is one of them. Animalize is one of them. Destroyer is one of them. Rock and Roll Over is pretty good, but I don't know how well it holds up.
I mean, I'm fully willing to admit that maybe I'm just missing something because every single one of my guitar heroes loves Kiss. Every single one of them.
I think you know what it is? I think you're just blinded by your hate of Gene Simmons.
That might be true.
I'll tell you what. Don't listen to a Kiss album. Listen to Ace Frehley's solo career. That shit is amazing. And honestly, and it's amazing because Ace Frehley is actually a better singer than Gene Simmons, and yet he like barely sang in the actual band. And that wasn't like Paul or Gene saying he couldn't. He was just shy and didn't want to. Like I think he sang like a couple songs. None of them were really that big, unless you're like, you know, like a diehard Kiss fan or something. But and also, like, he has the most unique voice out of all of them. Like, Paul and Gene and even Peter Criss, they all kind of sound similar. Ace Frehley is an entire other kettle of fish.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, all of the guitar heroes that I have, Dimebag, John Petrucci, Michael Romeo, Ron Thal, like, all the guys I love, they were all inspired by Ace Frehley. Every single fucking one of them.
So I say, like...
Maybe I just attribute that to the fact that Ace Frehley was just the only good thing around at the time, but...
I mean, it was the 70s.
I don't even know what to tell you.
I mean... Oh, and then, what was that? Frehley's Comet. He, like, after... So, like, and then another thing, too, and maybe this might, give you a little bit more respect for him. He left like semi early on. Like I think it was like Ace Frehley actually left Kiss like pretty early on. Like not early on, like by this point they already had quite a bit of commercial success, but which honestly makes it all the better. But like Ace Frehley basically left and I don't think he ever came back.
Oh, by the way, listen to this, like, amazing, tiny, like, transition thing.
What is it called?
Figaro's Whore.
Okay. So...
I fucking love Derek Sherinian.
Yeah, but, like, and it's interesting because, like, all of the albums that I praise so much, which is, like, 80s Kiss, Ace Frehley wasn't on any of it. And yet I still think he's the best member of Kiss.
That is weird, I will admit.
But I mainly say that because of his solo career, which I think is really good. There's a song called Snowblind on there, which is not quite as good as the Black Sabbath version, but it's good.
I don't know. I can't stand Kiss's sound. I don't like their vocals. I don't like the guitar riffs that they use.
Then listen to Ace Frehley. Like, all of that is different. It's harder rocking, completely different vocal style.
By the way, this is probably my favorite song on the album
This is
outside of
good.
Labyrinth, Divine Addiction.
Define Addiction?
Yep, Divine Addiction.
Oh, Divine Addiction. Okay. Define Addiction. Alexa, what is the definition of addiction?
Addiction is usually defined as the state of being enslaved to a habit or practice or to something that is psychologically or physically habit-forming, as narcotics, to such an extent that its cessation causes severe trauma.
Alexa.
Good to know.
Thank you.
Anytime, Logan. Enjoy your night.
Anytime.
Oh my God, she
nice
doxed me. She doxed me.
What did she say?
She said, anytime, Logan.
Ah!
How do they know? They're not allowed to know my name. Speaking of which, oh crap, she's gonna like go off in a minute, so I'll just unplug it.
So what were we talking about?
I would still say this isn't my favorite song.
Oh,
What
right,
was the one that
Kiss.
was like a couple Lost in Oblivion, that's my favorite.
So I think like my thing with Kiss is just it's not just Gene Simmons. That might be a part of it. I just don't like the sound. It's what I would call proto hair metal.
I think here's the thing about Gene Simmons, and like I don't like him either, but I put him in the same basket as like Ozzy Osbourne, just somebody who thinks that he's better than he is.
I mean, Ozzy Osbourne, at least you could say he's a scumbag because of Sharon.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't necessarily know if like Gene Simmons actually. I mean, there's like rape accusations, and actually, yeah, they're probably true.
He literally goes on interviews and says, "I don't care about my fans. I just want to exploit them for money." And he's not joking. Fuck this guy.
Fair enough. But did he really
I
say
hate
that?
him.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. He literally went on an interview, and I paraphrased it, but he said something along the lines of, "I don't care about the fans. They're only good for money." In regards to Kiss.
Wow. That's like Hillary Clinton level condescension right there.
I hate that fucking guy, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the type of person who will slap his logo on the casket of a dead man just to earn a few bucks. Oh, wait, he did that twice with Vinnie Paul and Dimebag Darrell.
What the fuck? No, he didn't. He
He
slapped
did.
his logo on a cat. No, honestly, I'm not even mad. That's just badass. That's
They
just
wanted
metal
it.
as fuck, dude.
Actually, I think like Dimebag Darrell wanted to be buried with Eddie Van Halen's like original guitar, and so Eddie Van Halen allowed him to be buried with it, which was like the coolest thing about his burial.
Yeah.
So somewhere Dimebag Darrell is buried with Eddie Van Halen's original like assassin guitar.
And just a random Kiss logo plastered on the side of the coffin.
Yep.
Honestly, I don't even care. That's metal as fuck. And I don't think Dimebag would have even cared either. He would have loved to be...
That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Dimebag
Dimebag
Darrell
was a
is
huge
laughing.
Kiss fan.
Dimebag Darrell is laughing from hell from that. From Valhalla.
No, he was a huge Kiss fan. Like, he
Yeah.
had a signed Ace Frehley guitar. Ace Frehley was his biggest guitar hero. I'll never understand. I really won't until I listen to Ace Frehley's debut, apparently.
Maybe I'm, like, hyping it more. I'm just saying, like, I think if you don't like
Okay,
Kiss, you might like
we
it.
are now on Opus Maximus. This is just an instrumental, I believe.
Okay. So, yeah, let's just see finishing thoughts on the album.
So,
You go first.
obviously, for me, this is a 10 out of 10 album. You know, I love it because of its namesake. To me, this is a psychotic symphony. You have Mike Portnoy's blazing, stubborn drums fighting against, Derek Sherinian's keyboards. And you have Billy Sheehan fighting with the drums. And you have Ronthal, Bumblefoot. You have him playing along with the drums. And it just comes together to make this incredibly psychotic sound, and I just love that. I don't think there's a single band on the planet that sounds like this band.
So yeah, I mean, like, Bumblefuck is definitely a very good guitarist, but no, I would just say it is a 9 out of 10 for me. I'd say some tracks are weaker, but overall, I appreciate the variety behind it. And they did another album, too, and I'm sure that one's pretty good.
A lot of people say it's better, but I will warn you, from what I've heard, it's much wankier.
Okay. But, I mean, like, I'm still... Actually, I'd say, like, an 8 out of 10, which is still pretty good. It's a B rating. I think there's aspects of the band, looking objectively, that just don't work. Soto being one of them. And also just some tracks that didn't work. And it's understandable why some things would work because you have so much variety. When you throw in, like, I think most supergroups, the reason that a lot of supergroups aren't amazing is because of the classic saying, or the classic idiom, too many cooks spoil the broth. I kind of have a little bit of a vibe of that from this album and a lot of supergroups. I think there's a choice few that don't suffer from that syndrome. I would say Cream, maybe Audioslave kind of suffers from that a little bit too. Not that it's a bad album, not that they're bad, I love them. I love Audioslave, but it does kind of have that feeling of like a bit of schizophrenia. So I would give it an 8 out of 10. It's a really good album. I'm definitely going to listen to it again, but it's not perfect by any means. I mean, this instrumental is fucking amazing, though.
Oh, yeah. I love that musical theme that they write on throughout the... Love that. It's really good.
So do you have anything to respond to what I was saying, or...
So you're basically saying that you think this suffers from too many cooks in the kitchen. I think that it's that rare case where you have a bunch of cooks in the kitchen, but all of their fierce debates on what should go in the dish results in an amazing dish you can't get anywhere else. Because you have all of these flavors clashing at once, and it just so happens that it creates a perfect balance. It's a symphony of flavors. A psychotic symphony of flavors, you could say.
Okay, but like, even you have to admit, like, songs like, what is it? Alive, right?
Honestly, I like that a little bit more than I usually do this time around, especially the ending. I thought the ending was really good.
And even songs like Coming Home, I don't love. Sign of the Times is really good. God of the Sun is really good. Labyrinth is pretty good. Lost in Oblivion is my favorite song.
Divine Addiction's a highlight for me.
I guess maybe Alive is the only like subpar song, and like, but even like just parts of songs, I can say I like. Well, that and Coming Home, but even like parts of songs, and again, it's just like, if these were all chefs, I feel like Bumblefuck and Mike Portnoy. Okay, fine, I'll call it Bumblefoot and Mike Portnoy would just be arguing about, like, should we add nutmeg to the stew or should we add, like, rosemary? Like that just, I feel like them just, that's just the musical equivalent of them arguing what specific herbs to put in the stew. Like,
yeah, but
like
what ends up happening is they both add their respective spices, and for some
here's the
reason,
thing,
it
is,
just turns out amazing.
Like Bumblefoot, like you said, he was in Guns N' Roses. He was in Asia. That's a very classic rock background. Meanwhile, Portnoy did shit like Dream Theater and other bands that I can't remember off the top of my head. He had a solo career, I think. And like they come from two different backgrounds. And I think that you're right in that they can work and they have been demonstrated to work in this album. But in other cases, I think those personalities clash. So, you know what? I've been like, final rating is an 8.5. Not quite a 9, not quite an 8. It's pretty good. It's very good. And it's a very good album that I will definitely listen to it again. I think this is my Abbey Road. If you know, we did an Audioholics on Abbey Road. And he was basically saying, like, yeah, it's a good album, but it's not perfect. That's sort of where I stand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it's perfect. I even said Alive is not really a song I like much.
Yeah.
I liked it more this time around, but it's still not my favorite track. And frankly, were it on a worse album, it could bring it down. But
Yeah.
I think because the rest of the album is so amazing, that one song not being like a 10 out of 10 doesn't hurt it in my eyes. You know?
Yeah,
That'd
I
be
understand.
like it would be like if you saw a painting and because it had one tiny little like slash, the whole thing's shit now. Like, no, it's still a fucking masterpiece of a painting.
I wouldn't say the entire thing is shit. I would just say it isn't a perfect painting.
No, it isn't. But there is no such thing as a perfect painting or a perfect album.
I can immediately come up with a list. I can immediately show you a list of 50 albums that are better.
Well, not perfect though. Each of them have flaws.
I don't know what flaws really are there in Days of Future Past, apart from just it's not everybody's cup of tea, maybe.
There's a flaw right away, but here's another one. It kind of drags.
Not
There are
really.
aspects
Like,
of that album that I would say don't work.
That's kind of the thing, is it drags much, like, for being one of the first prog albums, it doesn't drag at all.
I don't know. I would say it drags a little, specifically in the middle. Like, everybody is there for night and morning. Nobody cares about midday, and yet midday is like the longest
Tuesday
part.
Afternoon is one of the best songs on the album.
I always thought, like,
afternoon.
I always thought Day of Future Past was like very bookended.
Well, that's
The
what I
best
feel
songs
about
were in the
Crimson
front and
King.
back.
So I guess we sort of know how we feel about our favorites.
Yeah, I think, like, if I were to sit here and say, by the way, the musical theme is back. Love that.
Yeah.
Like, if I were to say, like, in the Court of the Crimson King, what's a flaw within the Court of the Crimson King? Okay, here's one. Greg Lake is not a perfect vocalist.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say he's definitely good for what it is, though. He's
good for what it is, but, like, he could have improved a lot in that album. And a lot of people would argue he does better in other albums.
They never had, like, a really consistent lineup, did they?
Not really, no. Did I ever tell you that Elton John was supposed to perform on the second album?
Shit,
he was supposed to do vocals.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been really cool.
Elton John was
I
want to
live in the alternate direction where that happens.
Elton John was on a Saxon album. That was weird as shit.
That is weird as shit. Saxon has so many fucking albums. Why do they have 22 albums?
Because they're Saxon and they're better than you.
Saxon needs to have a sax off.
Oh,
At
I'm
this
sorry.
point, I only
I'm-
make that joke to piss you off.
Oh no. I was just silent because I was waiting for the joke. Anyway, so it's the end of the album.
That was the joke. It's the end of the album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we basically said all we need to say. I think it's an 8 out of 10, or an 8.5 out of 10, rather. He says it's a 10 out of 10. I mean, I would say this. Yeah, like, the album has flaws, but I think for me, the flaws maybe affects the album more, in my opinion, than it would be.
Yeah, and one thing I will add is that, like, with this album in particular, you have to understand it took me a long-ass time to get into it. The first time I heard it, I actually really didn't like it at all. In fact, like, I don't think I actually started liking it until the fourth time I listened to it.
I don't know. I got into it, like, I mean, I would consider myself into it, as much into it as I possibly could be with this kind of music, but
the first time I heard it, I thought it sounded generic. I thought it sounded boring. I hated Soto. I thought the guitar playing was mediocre. This was before I like appreciated Bumblefoot as a guitar player.
I would say I still believe a lot of that to be true, but apart from the flaws that I mentioned that actually do affect it, I wouldn't say the guitar playing is mediocre. It's just mediocre on Coming Home.
I mean, I still think that riff is really good. Like, it's really groovy. I love that groove in that song. And especially the verse has, like, a really amazing groove to it that you just can't help, moving your body to, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
That was an amazing album. I'm glad we got to cover it on the podcast. Next pick, I'm just going to say right now, is going to be Michael Romeo's solo album, War of the Worlds Part 1. And I can't wait to cover that on here because that is a really interesting album. So I'll just give a quick rundown. It's a musical adaptation of the book War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
Oh, shit. Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's really interesting. It's the first part, so there's going to be a part 2.
Okay.
I'm really interested in that to come out.
Right.
He said it's already written and recorded. He's just waiting to release it because he wants us to sit with this album. Whatever.
Okay. Fuck you, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so that's it for today. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, like, and comment again.
And subscribe again.
No, only subscribe once. Doing it twice is illegal.
Do it 3 times, just to piss Logan off.
No. In fact, we should have less subscribers.
All of you unsubscribe right now.
No, don't do that.
All, like, 2 of you.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Nobody watched this far, so who cares?
Fair enough. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.